Good day, beautiful people, and welcome to my podcast, Life Treasures and Golden Moments. This is Natalie Silver. I'd like to wish everyone out there a very happy Hanukkah and a very Merry Christmas season. Merry Christmas is coming up soon here in a few more days, and I think we're right in the middle of Hanukkah. So I hope everybody out there is doing well and enjoying the holidays and keeping away from that nasty bug. Today I'd like to share a couple of stories with you, and the first story is called Learning Christmas Love, and it was authored by Pat J. Skura. Of all the Christmas gifts I ever received, a simple doll from more than 50 years ago remains most treasured in my mind. It taught me a lesson I've never forgotten. My parents, who owned a small, run-down motel in rural Wyoming, counted on the summer tourist season to carry us through the long, isolated winters. But few tourists had visited our area that summer, meaning that even covering the necessities was next to impossible. As the eldest of 4 children, I was old enough to understand my parents' dilemma, but young enough to grieve at the thought of a Christmas even more sparse than usual. While my friends were anticipating sleek bicycles, walking dolls, and stylish new clothes, I knew that my gifts would be far simpler. Meanwhile, the younger children continued to expect Santa to fill the gap they knew Mom and Dad couldn't. Across the street from us was a dilapidated 2-room shack. The peeling once white paint barely covered a dwelling so small and inadequate that it was usually vacant. But that winter it housed the Miller family. We were delighted, since the 4 Miller children were each slightly younger than each of us, making for great playmates. However, we'd quickly learned that their life was much different than ours. Their father was long gone. Where, they didn't know, and their mother worked long, hard hours at the local cafe. I don't remember ever seeing her. The children were usually home alone. As the days of early December passed, my brother and sisters whispered of what Santa would bring us. Soon even I was excited enough to join in. Our faith in him was firm, even though Mom and Dad kept insisting that Santa had a rough year too. I think we somehow felt that if we believed hard enough, he would come through, and in fact, he always did. Despite many lean years, our parents had always managed to make Christmas special, filling the holiday with excitement and inexpensive but meaningful gifts to delight our hearts. Perhaps most important, in the midst of our poverty, we had one precious commodity that money could not buy, and that was hope. Not so with the Miller children. When they spoke of Christmas, there was no excitement, no mystery, no expectation. Flatly, without anticipation, they insisted, "Santa isn't coming to our house this year." At first we didn't believe them. Who ever heard of Santa totally skipping a family? But when we realized they were serious, our disbelief turned to distress. They weren't even sure they would be able to stay in their little home through the winter. How can they have no Christmas? We quizzed our mother at lunch one day. All she could do was shrug sadly in reply. Dad had no answers either. We fretted over their dilemma. We wished we could be Santa to the Millers, but of course that was out of the question. We had no money, and our parents certainly didn't need any other worries. We pondered for days, trying to figure out what to do. Then one night, just days before Christmas, Dad came up with the most absurd idea we had ever heard of. Since Santa wouldn't be visiting the Millers, he proposed that maybe we children should. "If you really care about your friends," he explained quietly, "your giving needs to be a sacrifice rather than something that doesn't cost you anything. Even if Mom and I could afford to help you, it wouldn't mean anything to you. You'll be getting a few gifts from relatives this year, so why not give one to each of your friends?" He couldn't be serious, but he was. We didn't know what to say. We considered his idea for a long time. several days as I recall. We'd been receiving so little ourselves that the thought of giving even one precious gift away was heart-wrenching. But we knew that the Millers expected nothing at all. Once we had made our decision, we could barely keep our secret as we anticipated the joy our gifts would bring. But at the same time, we had second and third thoughts. The suspense was unbearable. What precious gift would we lose? What if we regretted the decision? What if the cost was too high? Maybe Santa would come to the Millers after all, so we didn't really need to do this. Maybe it wasn't too late to change our minds. But we had committed ourselves to the plan, and our dad saw to it that we carried it through. As we opened our gifts that Christmas Eve, a little doll dressed in bright blue dress and a hat was among my small stack of presents. A gift from my favorite uncle. I held it close for a long minute and gave its hair a lingering stroke, and then carefully wrapped it in bright paper. The cold wind whipped our thin coats and bit our cheeks and noses as we stepped out into the freshly fallen snow that night. Stars twinkled in the clear sky, and the streetlights turned the icy crystals into a carpet of diamonds. Across the street, the Miller's house stood in darkness, a forlorn contrast to our mood. Excitedly, we crept across to the Millers, new snow crunching under each step. At their doorstep, we silently deposited a big bag tied with a red bow right in front of the door. Inside were that doll, a fighter plane from my brother, and stuffed animals from my sisters. The tag on the ribbon read simply, "Merry Christmas, love, Santa." Then we walked the short block to the church to celebrate the Nativity, which became real to us for perhaps the first time. As we ushered in Christmas moments later in our simple country church, I couldn't help thinking how surprised and delighted the Miller children would be when they discovered their presents. They would know that someone loved them, someone remembered them. I don't remember any of the other presents I received that year, but I'll always remember the lessons I learned about giving. Not just giving useless gifts to people who don't need them, but really giving. I learned that true giving is motivated by love and often by sacrifice, just as 2,000 years ago, love motivated the Father to give his only Son to a needy world. And Christmas giving is as fresh today as it was that star-filled night in Bethlehem. What a precious story. A special thanks to Pat J. Soroka, our author of the day. Thank you, Pat. Food for thought for all. This next story that I would like to share with you was given to me by a friend just recently, and it has to do with love and understanding and being kind to everyone. And I think we need to hear this, especially this time of year and right now with all the things going on in the world. To reach out and love to one another and to be open-minded about everything. This story doesn't have a title and the author is unknown, but it is very heartfelt and I think you'll enjoy it very much. In 1979, I was managing a Wendy's in Port Richey, Florida. Unlike today, staffing was never a real problem, but I was searching for someone to work 3 hours a day only at lunch. I went through all my applications and most were all looking for full-time or at least 20 hours a week. I found one, however, buried at the bottom of a 4-inch stack that was only looking for lunch part-time. His name was Nicky. Hadn't met him, but thought I would give him a call and see if he could stop by for an interview. When I called, he wasn't in, but his mom said she would make sure he would be there. At the accorded time, Nicky walked in, one of those moments when my heart went into my throat. Nicky suffered from Down syndrome. His physical appearance was a giveaway, and his speech only reinforced the obvious. I was young and sheltered, had never interacted on a professional level with a developmentally disabled person. I had no clue what to do, so I went ahead and interviewed him. He was a wonderful young man, great outlook, task-focused, excited to be alive, for only reasons God knew at that time. I hired him 3 hours a day, 3 days a week, to run a grill. I let the staff know what to expect. Predictably, the crew made sure I got the message. No one wants to work with a retard. To this day, I find that word offensive. We had a crew meeting, cleared the air, and prepared for his arrival. Nicky showed up for work right on time. He was so excited to be working. He stood at the time clock, literally shaking with anticipation. He clocked in and started his training. Couldn't multitask, but was a machine on the grill. Now for the fascinating part. Back in that day, there were no computer screens to work from. Every order was called by the cashier. It required a great deal of concentration on the part of all production staff to get the order right. While Nicky was training during his first shift, the sandwich maker next to him asked the grill trainer what was on the next sandwich. Nicky replied, "Single, no pickle, no onion." A few minutes later, it happened again. It was then that we discovered Nicky had a hidden and valuable skill. He memorized everything he heard. He had a photographic hearing. What a skill set. It took 3 days, and every sandwich maker requested to work with Nicky. He immediately was accepted by the entire crew. After his shift, he would join the rest of his crew family, drinking Coke like it was water. It was then that they discovered another Rain Man Esquire trait. Nicky was a walking, talking, perpetual calendar, with a perpetual reference of all calendars, and they would sit for hours asking him what day of the week was December 22nd, 1847, and he never missed. This uncanny trait mesmerized the crew. His mom could come in at 2 o'clock to pick him up. More times than not, the crew would be back there with him, hamming it up. As I went to get him from the back, his mom said something I will never forget. "Oh, let him stay. Stay there as long as he wants. He has never been accepted anywhere like he has been here." I excused myself and dried my eyes, humbled and broken-hearted at the lesson I had just learned. Nicky had a profound impact on the store. His presence changed a lot of people. Today I believe with every fiber of my body that Nicky's hiring was no accident. God's timing and will is perfect. This Christmas, I hope we all understand what we are celebrating. We are all like Nicky. We each have our own shortcomings. We each have strong points, but we're all of value. God made us that way, and God doesn't make mistakes. Nicky certainly wasn't a mistake. He was a valuable gift that I am forever grateful for. We are celebrating the birth of the one that leveled the playing field for all of us. He doesn't care if you are rich or poor, Republican or Democrat, or black or white. He doesn't care if your chromosome structure is perfect. He doesn't care what level of education you have attained. He cares about your heart. He wants all of us to love and appreciate the gift he gave us on Christmas and Hanukkah. His Son, the Savior, our salvation. His Son that was born to die for our sins, to pay our debt, to provide us a path to eternity. So this Christmas, let's check our hearts. There is a little bit of Nicky in all of us, and I suspect there is a Nicky somewhere in your life that is looking for the chance to be embraced. Thank God for that. Thank God for his perfect gift. A special thanks to my friend for sharing that story with me so I could share it with you all today. Until next time, this is Natalie Silver, wishing you a very happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas. Till we meet again, take care and may God bless.
She leaned with her head on the window, watching evergreen bend in the snow, remembering Christmas the way it had been so many seasons ago. Children would reach for their stockings and open the presents they found. The lights on the tree would shine bright in their eyes, reflecting the love all around. But this year there's no one to open the gifts, no reason for trimming the tree. And just as a tear made its way to the floor, she heard voices outside start to sing, Merry Christmas to all who may dwell here. Merry Christmas, if even just one. May the joy of the season surround you. Merry Christmas with love. The carol sang, she opened the door, faces of friends in the crowd, and over the shadows of lonely reminders driven away by the sound. Now the heart that for years had been silent was suddenly filled with a song as she clung to their hands like a child in the night. She found herself singing along, Merry Christmas to all who may dwell here. Merry Christmas, if even just one. May the joy of the season surround you. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to all who may dwell here. Merry Christmas, if even just one. May the joy of the season surround you. Merry Christmas with love. Merry Christmas.